Welcome to the Prophecy Collaborative. Topic today is China to stop all U.S. shipments. Now, China is not saying that yet, but that's what the prophecies say. And I think with what I bring you today, you're going to say it's just around the corner. I think you'll agree with that. First of all, I'm teaching through the book of Revelation every Friday evening, starting this Friday evening, 6:30 Central Standard Time. Love to have you. And you can watch that, I guess, on all the platforms, YouTube, Prophecy Club, Facebook. And as I might add, we also have a bunch of shorts that we've been putting up on Google and Facebook and also TikTok, and have been getting a lot of views. And I think that if they weren't shadow banning us on the other platforms, we would be getting a whole lot more views there. So if you do watch Prophecy Club, and you can click like, share, and subscribe. That will help. Okay, all right. So anyway, first of all, I covered this the other day, but this fits in, and if you didn't catch that, then it's important for you to understand this. So essentially, that China doesn't like what Trump is doing with all of these tariffs. So headline, China levies economic war against the U.S. Okay, so it's not a bomb war, it's a word war, which is exactly what You Be Ready said was coming, a war of words. Brings global payment system online, bypassing SWIFT, settling oil sales without dollars. That is exactly what Shane Warren said would be the death of the dollar. When they start selling oil in another currency, and they are setting up a new financial system to go around the dollar, that's the death of the dollar. So in terms of, I hope you're catching this. It's happening. Remember, You Be Ready was told in a vision that it begins now. Okay, and I think it is beginning now. And several things I'm going to show you today, I think is going to raise all questions. Anyway, so in China, over 2,000 mainland listed companies have hit limit down, and China's most active CSI 1000 stock index futures is now down 10%, hitting limit down. Now, you and I both know that the stock market at last check has also rebounded back up, but that's not the point. Okay, it's not the stock market. This is the fact that China is now selling oil or buying it in digital dollars. That's the big news. And that they're going around the SWIFT system, which is the dollar system, and that all fits with prophecy. This is bypassing the SWIFT U.S. dollar entirely. Sometimes we prophecy students don't understand the world so well. We don't understand stock market. We don't understand some, but I'm trying to explain to you, this is really, really big stuff. All right, let's go on. So it goes on to say that there's a bloodbath. Now, this is Friday's news. We know that it rebounds. That's not the point. The point is they have gone around the dollar. And he goes on here to say, in the middle, if you read it, World Economic Forum, gone. Davos, gone. Klaus Schwab, gone. Sustainable Development Goals are gone. In other words, he's saying that we are living in a new world, and that's exactly what the prophecies say too. Let's go on. If China does not withdraw its 34% increase above their already long-term trading abuses, says President Trump, by tomorrow, which is actually today, if they don't drop the 34%, this China, they don't drop the increased 34%, then he's going to hit them with 50%. Well, guess what? They didn't drop it, okay? Now, I also covered this, but this is important. Federal Reserve calls emergency meeting, and I have looked and I have not. So if you got some information on this, send it to me. I couldn't find anything else. But what's the Federal Reserve doing calling an emergency meeting? This is the 12 banking families. This is the Illuminati. These are the people that have ruled our finances probably back to the pyramid in the days of the Pharaoh. In other words, they are scared. They are scared out of their mind. And they're afraid they've lost their SWIFT system, their dollar system, that has been pumping money into their pockets. And they have. Let's go on. Now, here's the next. Okay, so the first slap was by China a long time ago, raising all of these high tariffs on America. Trump comes along and slaps back. China says, we don't like that. We're going to, and this article says that we're going to remove rare earth minerals. Okay, what does that mean? If you look at the picture here, it's things like, and I'm not trying to say all those words, lanthanum, I probably mispronounce them, but it's used in telescopes, cars, computers, ladders, jet engines, manufacturing, laptops, computers. These rare earth minerals are really important, and China is cutting us off from them. Now, they're not the only provider, the article says, but they do provide about 60% of it to the rest of the world. And it'd be nice if America had some in our own soil. And Trump needs to be saying, help, help, help. If anybody knows if we got any of those metals in here or another country, we need them desperately right now, which is another reason I'd recommend you call 800-200-GOLD, because with what I'm about to tell you, you may be losing, and I'm not giving financial advice here, okay? This is a prophecy program, but you may be losing a lot if you don't. So I'm just telling you, call them and say, hey, here's my situation. What do you think? Am I okay? Or maybe they say you're okay. Maybe they say, well, I would do this. But again, it doesn't hurt to call. Doesn't cost you anything. Might not like what they say. Okay, that's fine. Make a friend and hang up. Okay, let's go on. Now, this is today's headline. Tariffs go into effect against China. That's the first headline. But the second headline is even more important. Trump slaps 104% tariff on communist China after Beijing defies U.S. warning. Okay, so what's happening? So Trump comes out and hits China with 34% and says, don't retaliate, don't raise it. China then removes the rare earth metals. And then he says, and then China then slaps us back with 34%. I think that's correct. I could be wrong in that. But then Trump goes back and hits them with a 50% tariff, bringing the total tariff up to what China is paying is 104%. Basically, now this is the important part. Basically, it's saying to China, we don't want any of your goods. Now, if you got the cards, you can say that. But when it comes to rare earth metals, we don't have the cards. And when it comes to our financial position, we really don't have the cards either, in my opinion. So I think what the prophecies are about to say is China is about to simply stop shipping to us altogether, period. Now think about that. I had to go to Sam's Club today to pick up a couple of leg of lamb. We're preparing for Passover. And as I was walking through Sam's Club, I thought, such abundance in here. How can anybody believe that there's any shortage coming? And that's kind of the way it is in America. It's hard to believe any shortage is coming, but that's what the prophecies say. And 2 Chronicles 20:20 says, believe God's prophets, and so shall you prosper. So Trump is set to unleash a devastating 140% tariff on communist China this Wednesday. And yes, China did not back down. They just ignored the 12 o'clock deadline. And so Carolyn Levitt says, yep, starting tomorrow, the 9th at noon, they're going to start hitting China with a 104% tariff. Now, what's China going to do? Here's where prophecies come in handy. What are they going to do? Now let's go to, and I've had part of this prophecy, but it was only part of it. But I ran across this. By the way, thank you for sending your emails. So many of your emails are so important. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Somebody sent me this. He goes through and he explains some of the things that we already heard, which is the first part of it. But he brings some additional information, and I'm going to show you through 2 for sure, kind of 2.5, that says China is probably about to stop shipping everything to America. Now, how much is that? That means you're probably not going to be able to get parts for your car. Probably not going to be able to get your pharmaceuticals. They're not made in America anymore. As a matter of fact, light bulbs, food, just about everything comes from China. And of course, it's going to hurt us as much as it hurts China. That guy, what's his, Chang? Sometimes you see him on Fox News. He says that China actually is in a financial bind. I would like to hear that from two other people to confirm that, because I question that. It seems like China has lots of money. Now, if China has lots of money and they don't have to ship to us, then we're going to be in a world of hurt real soon. And that's what the prophecies say are coming. Let's read it. So I was praying and I saw a flagpole. Remember this part because I'm going to show you the same words. Well, here, I'll just jump down. I'll just show you the same thing. This is from Coverstone. This was given to him in 2020. This one was actually given in 2024. Let's read Coverstone first and we'll go back. So he says, I saw a $100 bill the size of a flag hanging on a flagpole. Wow. Look at what he said. I was praying and I saw a flagpole with a $100 bill flying on it as it were a flag. The Bible says, in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let a thing be established. So to me, I think there is no question this is the mouth of God. Let's go on. $100 bill flying as it were a flag. I saw it change to a digital code. It was digital, like a crypto writing on it. I said, Lord, what are you showing me? He said, the dollar's about to turn into a digital dollar. Well, that's not news. We've heard that a long time now. And it would be worth half what it is now. Most of the other prophecies say it goes 30%, 0, as in 3 jumps. He's basically saying, boom, boom, 2 jumps. Matters not, okay? He showed me all banks seized the money inside of them. It was like a bail-in. Now, I do not have another confirming prophecy on that particular line, but let's go on. Now let's jump back to Coverstone. Read what he said, then we'll go back to him. I saw a $100 bill the size of a flag hanging on a flagpole, burning on one corner. It was being lowered like a flag is lowered at the end of the day. People had their hands over their hearts and were crying because their god of money was being lowered. That's what the first article I just read said, that the SWIFT system has been circumvented by the Chinese last week. Boom. So these prophecies that we've been thinking are way over the horizon just arrived at our front door. People had their hands over their hearts and were crying because their god of money was being lowered. The dollar had lost its value, and it burned until only about a third of it was left. To the protester, the death of the dollar was a celebration. Okay, the communists that are protesting, they want to see America destroyed. Okay. Many people were celebrating while others were devastated and totally torn up by the death of the dollar. The value of the American dollar was dying, and I heard someone playing taps in the background. Now, there's more. Now, let me go to a third person. This is Charles Turney. Listen to what he says. I had a vision. I was in a room, and I heard a loud rumbling under my feet and rolling behind me. On the wall in front of me began to appear numbers. The numbers were being calculated. They contained algebra and geometry. I saw cash dropping into an abyss type of place. There was no end to it. Cash was disappearing into darkness. Coverstone says that in another one of his dreams. I saw dollars begin to start fading on each side to the point to where you couldn't see the numbers on the bills, but the numbers continued to fade away. In other words, as Coverstone was said, coins, and another guy said also paper bills are going away. I was made to know that the dollar is going away and a cashless, hope you're listening, a cashless system of digital numbers was coming to be our new medium of exchange. Let me read that again. I was made to know the dollar is going away, probably this month or the next. The dollar is going away and a cashless system of digital numbers was coming to be our new medium of exchange. Then I heard the Lord say the word digital. I said, oh my God, the cash is going away and digital is coming in as the new domain. Now think about it. Revelation 13 says that no man can buy or sell save he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. For that to happen, you've got to have a system that gets between buyer and seller. If you pay with coin or paper, you can hand the coin or hand the paper to the buyer or the seller, and you can exchange it, and you don't need anybody between you. So the only way you can control every transaction so that no man might buy or sell, save he had the mark and the name of the beast of the number of his name, is digital. which is what the prophecies say has arrived. Now, let's go back to Brandon, what he said. That we're continuing his. Then I saw the money being seized out of the banks. Now, I do not have confirmation on that. He's the only one that's saying that. You weren't allowed to withdraw any of the money. People were furious because they couldn't get to their money out of the banks. All the banks kept it. So, when the dollar went digital, the dollar crashed. I'll say that again. So when the dollar went digital, the dollar crashed. When does the dollar crash? It's in progress now. When does it go digital? Friday, when China announced the new system going around the SWIFT system. When the dollar went digital, the dollar crashed. And they took all the notes on the homes, the car loans. Those who could not make their payments because the dollar had collapsed lost their homes and cars. Do you remember what the WEF, the World Economic Forum, said? It said that you'll own nothing, but you'll be happy. You remember I said the only way you can do that is to confiscate all the homes and the cars where they own everything? Do you remember I said, and the way that would probably happen would be the dollar crashing and them collecting all of it? Remember I told you that my dad told me a story. He said, my mom and I heard them both talking about it. They said when they were little boys and girls, they said, my dad specifically, said he bought a bunch of new prize cattle. He had a blacksmith shop and a rather large ranch up in Raton, New Mexico, which I've never been. But anyway, apparently in those days, he said he was considered to be a wealthy man. He went down to the bank, borrowed a bunch of money, bought a bunch of new prize cattle to extend his wealth, to extend his ranch. But about 2 months later, the bank called a note. Now, he wasn't behind on it. It's just they called a note. And that's what they were doing for all of the people. Why? Because the biggest business in the world is the business of war. And they were pulling notes from around the world, getting their money back out of the people so that they could invest it into the nations, because they knew World War II was coming. Now, that's my opinion on that. But anyway, so they forced him to sell his prize cattle for pennies on the dollar. And in order to do that, to get the money back to the bank, he had to sell his blacksmith shop and his ranch and go to work for somebody else. In other words, the banks ruined him. That's the story my mom and dad told me. And was a story repeated many places. So these international bankers, they're not new to this. This is what they've been doing since the days of the pyramids. Let's go on. So they were all wiped out. They didn't make you make payments forever on student loans. They weren't allowed to foreclose on student loans, but they froze them for several years. People weren't made to make those payments anymore. In other words, you simply lost your house or your car. With the housing market or car loans, they didn't make you leave the house. They just froze the loan. In other words, you can keep the car, you can keep the house, but you don't own it anymore, which is what the World Economic Forum said was going to be coming. It happened so quickly, the Lord showed me that people were still dressed in nice clothes. That people were standing in line trying to get groceries, but there was no food in the stores. How many times we heard that? I think I've got 12 different prophecies saying no food in the stores. There were cobwebs on the shelves, which represented quite a bit of time. Cobwebs don't happen quickly, but over time. The shelves were completely bare in these grocery stores. People were lined up trying to get whatever they could in these paper sacks or whatever they could get it in. They were all lined up for like a mile long. They wrapped around the buildings and down the street waiting just to get into one local store. I can show you several other prophecies that describe the same thing. He told me the year, which, by the way, I really recommend you go to josephskitchen.com. You do not have to starve when everybody else does. You can have food. Joseph's, has an S on the end, josephskitchen.com. Tell you more in a minute. He told me the euro would be in trouble because of what was going on with Europe. Well, what's happening in Europe? That's right, the euro is in trouble. Going on with Europe and the war, that one of the first signs was going to happen would be the euro, and Europe gets in trouble. Then the events would happen like dominoes falling. China made a trade war with America. That's happening as we speak. If China were to pull off their 34%, Trump would pull off his 50%, and we'd still be in smiles. But China apparently is not going to pull back their 34%. Trump is not going to pull back his 50%. My guess is, according to the prophecies, China just says, well, then we're not going to ship you anything. We can ship it to other nations that want it. So they stop the shipping. And everybody's smiling for about 2 weeks, maybe even 2 months. But at the end of some 2 months, someplace in there, when we are lacking food, who makes your clothes? China. Who makes a lot of your food? China. Who makes your car parts? Who makes a lot of things? China. China made a trade war with America. All the supplies from China were not coming over on big ships anymore because of something that happened. Tariffs? Because of something happens, because of the war escalating. Tariffs? I also saw people rioting after the dollar crashes. The government was not able to give them their Social Security checks or their welfare food stamps, whatever entitlements. Look at that word, entitlements. Do you remember Shane Warren was told back in 2010 in a vision, he saw people holding up signs saying, give us our entitlements. He's the third person we have that has seen that exact word on signs of people protesting. They were supposed to get. They were all upset, holding signs saying, give us our entitlements. We're about to see that. They had signs marching like a 1,000,000-man march. There were tons of people, literally hundreds of thousands of people. Both Terry Bennett and Shane Warren said it was like war. These were not just people protesting and burning. It was like war, man. Okay? What did Dimitri do when we get told? Fall of America will start with an internal revolution. Boom. There it is. There it is. So you heard it first. There were tons of people, literally thousands of people, taking to the streets, rioting, pillaging, stealing from stores. They had on the signs going down the streets demanding that they felt like they rightfully should receive from the government owed them. In other words, give us our entitlements. The government declared martial law and brought in the National Guard. They put the National Guard Hummers and chained barbed wire fence throughout the major cities. They had curfews with checkpoints and declared martial law because of the people rioting in New York, Chicago, and many other northern cities, just basically everywhere. The fall of America will start with an internal revolution in America, started by the communists. Some of the people will start fighting. You recognize those words? Some of the people start fighting against the government. Then the Lord said, people call me Lord, Lord. But Brandon, their hearts are far from me. And he said, you will see a separation between the tares and the wheat. You're going to see a difference between the ones that are true believers right now and the ones that are in name only. The true believers are truly on fire for me and have a relationship with me. I've been their Lord. He said, you will see this. There are going to be great apostasies, even greater than what is seen right now. You're about to see greater and greater separation between the tares and the wheat. You're going to know the real Christians from the people that are just giving up lip service. In the true hearts, there is a purification coming, a refiner's fire coming to the body of Christ. There will be a shaking coming. Now, I think that is the earthquake that opens up the Great Lakes all the way down to the Gulf of America. 2025 is going to be a dark year. The dam I saw breaking right before the 24 election, and that's what You Be Ready said, the show has begun. The show has begun. The purpose is to bring in the new digital platform, the new digital cyber currency. They want to control the global money system. It's how they bring forth the mark of the beast with the Antichrist system. It has to happen. We're all going to see a digital currency. It'll be like crypto. I'm not giving financial advice, and he showed me gold and silver. Now, remember, Shane Warren was told silver is going to skyrocket far more than gold, which is why. Let me talk about that aside. I haven't talked about Joseph Kitchen much lately. What God spoke to my heart was that his famine plan is eating wheat. In the days of the 7 years of plenty, they stored up 20%. Then in the days of famine, what they ate was wheat. Not corn, not rice, not beans. It was wheat. Wheat is God's survival plan. It's his emergency plan. Why? Why do you think we're called wheat as opposed to tares? I think wheat is what the human body is primarily supposed to be living on. Now, other things too, I agree. But at Joseph's Kitchen, they don't ship it out in a paper bag that's no good, or rice breaks in, or mice or something like that. I should say rice. Mice. They ship it out in a pail, and it's nitrogen packed. We estimate it'd be good for some 25 years. In addition, they also already have gathered up everything you need to start making your own wheat. What you do is go there and you see the little starter package. They have videos. You can watch the videos. It explains everything you need. What you want to do is order yourself a machine package. That's the grinders and the bread machine, all the mechanical things to make the bread easy. Then you decide how much food you want. You want food for one person a year, 4 people a year, 6 people a year. How much food you want, order that. They have videos. They have recipes, everything you need. Bread slicers, cups, everything. I recommend you start making your bread now. Don't put it up for a rainy day. There's a little bit of a learning curve to learn how to make bread correctly. So I'd recommend you start making your bread now when you get it. But you go there, you spend some time on the site looking around, order yourself some food. Most of your emergency food costs $9,000 to $10,000, to feed one person for 1 year. $9,000 to $10,000, one person 1 year. At Joseph's Kitchen, you can do it for about $1,000 a head. And it's good, and it's good for your food. It's God's famine food. josephskitchen.com. Now, I also recommend that you go to EMP Shield. Get yourself one of these. Goes on your car. They also have them for your house. So when the suitcase nukes go off, your car still starts. There's a saying that says, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. So in the land when no one's car starts because a suitcase nuke went off near them, and your car starts, you're going to be in a pretty good position to help other people. And if you use the promo code PROPHECY, it helps your Prophecy Club, but it gets you a $50 discount. So, 800-200-GOLD. Get yourself some gold and silver. If you have an IRA, a 401k, talk to them about it. And josephskitchen.com, Joseph's with an S, josephskitchen.com. Here you go, you can look at it. And then empshield.com. Apparently, these prophecies that we've been talking about are no longer over the horizon. They're no longer at the end of the block. They're not even at the end of the driveway. They're on our front door. It might be too late for some preparations. Don't wait. Don't wait. You want to be one of them that people say, how'd you know this is coming? And you can provide the food, the water, the other things that is needed in an emergency.